guys, welcome back to Telltale. I'm Emily.
I'm Greg.
And we are going to be talking about Philip K. Dick's Martians Come in Clouds.
Another little dick.
Another little dick. Little short dick.
Yep.
Story.
And it definitely was a short story. Once again, June 1953. We're still stuck there.
Still cranking them out in June.
This
short
one
story
in
machine.
Fantastic Universe magazine. And I read it in We Can Remember It For You Wholesale.
Yay!
And other classic stories by Philip K. Dick. But it is, once again, available online as a PDF for free.
I like it.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
Martians
So this
Come in
one,
Clouds.
yeah, this one I liked because the main protagonist is actually a child. And I find those stories to be far more interesting because children are far more complex than I think adults give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was really fun because basically every so often these creatures from Mars kind of float down into the atmosphere of Earth.
And they look like clouds.
And they look like clouds, and they're kind of like feathery, papery cloud-ish, where they're like... They're described really interestingly. But, so in the community, there's only like maybe a handful a year, or every couple of years that come from space. But everybody...
But they'll come down, they'll land on somebody's house, and everybody freaks out.
Yeah, everybody freaks out because they're like, kill it because it's different.
Get whatever they can to destroy this and burn it.
Poke it down with poles or start it on fire or try to like get rid of it or destroy it somehow immediately.
Because they think that these things are going to eat them.
Yeah.
And they can tell their kids that. Stay away from them, they're going to eat you.
Yeah, they might eat you or harm you or whatever. And so basically, like, all these adults are talking about this one that was seen on a neighbor's house, and the little boy comes home to his family, and his dad is like, just be careful of these things. You get an adult and you run as fast as you can home when you see them, because it will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't know what they're here for or why they're here, but they're here to harm, for sure. And so the little boy and his friend are going out and hanging out for the day and biking around and whatever, and it's getting late, so they kind of part ways and split home, and like throughout the day they're kind of talking on and off about how like they kind of want to catch one and see one in real life because they haven't yet, but they've heard of so-and-so in the community who's seen one, or so-and-so's dad saw one, or so-and-so's mom or uncle saw one, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so after they part ways, the little boy's heading home and he sees one in the dark, and so he's like freaked out a little bit and kind of paralyzed in fear. So he has kind of like fight, flight, or freeze, and he chose freeze. And like the alien starts projecting impressions and like visions into the kid's head.
Mm-hmm.
Basically asking the child permission to live on the ocean because on Mars all the water dried up and they need it to live. And there's only a handful of them left and they're all going extinct. So the little boy gets this information from this creature, but then he's still scared because he's convinced it's actually going to kill him still, because the humans convinced him. The other humans did, like his family did. So he just runs and finds a police officer, and a bunch of people kind of mob together, and they start the tree where it is on fire, and it burns up and dies. And so then the little boy goes home, and the dad, the end of it's basically the dad talking about how proud and not scared his son was when he saw one. But it's like this... The whole story is just rooted in intercultural miscommunication.
Yep.
Where the people don't even want to be open-minded enough to know why they're here. They just want to kill it because it's different. But the little boy was open-minded enough and curious enough in his somewhat frozen state and kind of his mentality going into the situation or before the situation happened, that perhaps it was because he was so open-minded and so wanting to meet and catch and see one of these creatures that he was open to knowing why it was there. So that's why it was able to project images. We don't know for sure the circumstances.
No. Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't say spoiler alert before.
Oh, well.
Any of the spoilers I said.
We
It's a very
spoiled it.
short story, though. Like, there's no way to tell it without kind of spoiling the story, but...
Yeah, and this is one of the few so far that I've never read before. Before reading this, and very different because it had not really a positive ending, but the other works that Philip K. Dick wrote in this time period are very paranoid. and very focused on these wars where everything's being destroyed, and you don't have a positive ending. You know, the protagonist turns out he actually is an imposter, or whatever. And this one, it has a twist ending, but it's one where you go, oh, they just wanted to come and float on the ocean.
Yeah.
And be friends.
Yeah, they didn't really want to bother humans at all. Like, they don't even want to be on the
really
land. They're just here trying to figure out if they... Like, they're just there to ask permission.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally why they're floating down, just a few at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're trying not to go extinct and just want permission to live on the ocean.
Mm-hmm. So I
feel
thought that
bad.
was kind of, you know, the other aliens we've had in other Philip K. Dick stories have been
kind of hostile.
Killers
Yeah.
and hostile. This is the first one where they were just totally,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they were like cotton candy.
Yeah, and I think this is cool because, like, Philip K. Dick tends to write a lot more alien lives non-humanoid. He writes them as very unrelatable.
Mm-hmm.
I think, one, for the purposes of the drama of the story, but also, like, there's often this trope that alien encounters are with very, like, humanoid-esque creatures of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Where they have a culture, it's just not the same as humans. A lot of the time they have very similar resemblances, where they have 2 arms and 2 legs. I like that Philip K. Dick tends to write aliens as very unrelatable.
Mm-hmm. Truly alien.
Yeah, truly alien. None of this, like, oh, we can find common ground.
Yeah.
Like, it adds to the drama more, because the less common ground you have, the harder it is to find empathy. And that's a very normal human thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, we even do that with animals on our planet.
Yeah.
We tend to, like, project and find common ground with a lot of animals, which is why we choose to make them pets. And which is why we choose to, like, preserve animal culture. And, like, try to keep them from going extinct and all this stuff. And have, like, laws about hunting and all this other stuff. Because we have this common ground where we share at least the same planet.
Yeah.
And we need to preserve that as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
This just throws that whole idea out the window.
Yeah.
We have no common ground whatsoever with these creatures. We don't want to have common ground with these creatures. We don't want to know why they're here. We just don't want them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really interesting, how he does that.
Yes. Especially 1953.
Mm-hmm.
This is a story about prejudice.
Of course. Of course it is.
Absolutely. And
probably about communists.
it may have come from the, you know, Cold War issues of the time, but it's very much that you have a different race. People did the prejudicial mind primarily at that time against the blacks in this country was that they aren't human, they are up to no good. You need to destroy them.
Kill
you
them
need to
they're
keep
different.
them down.
Mm-hmm.
You need to segregate them out. You can't have them mixing with us. You know, don't let your daughter date a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
All these kinds of things were going on in our society
social justice
back then.
related. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what people are doing to the Martians in this story.
Yep.
They just instantly make this assumption that these Martians are evil, that it's War of the Worlds and they're coming to blast us out of existence.
Or they're
It couldn't
coming
be
here
further from the
illegally and
truth.
gonna try and take our jobs.
Yeah.
Basically, these are refugees. And this
Mhm.
is no different than how we treat refugees necessarily in our country
Exactly.
either. There's a vast majority of people who treat refugees to any country this way.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't just say America, because it happens everywhere.
It's happened in recent times from Ukraine and from Afghanistan.
Mexico, we deal with it. It's happened all over Africa for decades. Long time. Where there's a lot of countries
the moms had
that
to
were...
put up with that.
Yep. Yeah. So this is a very very extreme, but not too extreme, commentary on how humans treat each other who are refugees if they don't understand the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's this is ours, you need to leave it alone, instead of welcoming them into the community and realizing they have needs too.
Yeah.
They're choosing not to see the common ground.
And this, in the 1950s, you had kind of this shift away from pure hard science technology, people inventing spaceships, people inventing time machines, people inventing ray guns, people inventing all kinds of fabulous things from nuclear power, to exploring what they call the soft sciences, sociology, psychology, even political science. And science fiction had this ability, which really comes from H.G. Wells, to mirror real society in these fantastical, sometimes even absurd situations. Taking aliens and making them mirror what's going on in our own society. H.G. Wells did that with the Martians. He was making a commentary on European colonialism in the Congo.
Yep.
And what they were doing to the people of the Congo by turning the tables and having this more advanced society from Mars come and start blasting England into the ground.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I kind of go back to a lot of the same feelings I experienced when I was reading The Metamorphosis. And how this kill it because it's different, or treat it different because it's different, without recognizing that it was once one of you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And in this case, it's like, instead of recognizing that we're all just creatures who need water to live, and we're all carbon-based, they just decide that these things are evil and definitely going to take over and have this kill it because it's different attitude.
And another interesting scientific aspect to this story that Philip Dick is doing is, if something evolves under a completely different ecological system, would it care about the things that are important to us? Would it breathe oxygen? Would it need water? Would it, maybe it would live off of ammonia, which is deadly to us. An alien life form, an alien society may have completely different biological needs than we have.
Yes.
And so they would not want our world. They would not want our things.
They wouldn't care about what we needed. They just care about what they needed. And if they could recognize that what they needed is different than what we need, but we have the resource available to them.
Yeah.
Behold.
It's like plants and animals on Earth. Plants need carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
We need oxygen. Plants give off oxygen. We give off carbon dioxide. It works.
Symbiotic relationships.
But
yeah.
But also, I mean, and plants are a good example because their existence is based on their ability to pull nutrients out of the soil, use carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and photosynthesize energy from the sun for their whole existence.
Yeah.
We can't do any of that.
Nope. That doesn't bother us. But we can eat them. Or even, like, when you think of funguses are such a crazy alien-type life form that coexists with us on this planet.
They are so important to our ecology. There's a science fiction novel about that called Omnivore.
We need to read it.
Piers Anthony.
We're going to read it, guys.
It's a brilliant, brilliant novel.
Well, maybe we'll die before we read it, but we don't know. Our to-be-read list is long, but yes, I think we need to read that, because, like, I found that I follow this gal on Instagram who is a forager, a mushroom forager, and she just goes around and, like, tells you what each mushroom is, and this one's toxic, and here's why, and this one's not, and here's what they look like, and here's what they do, and gives you all this cool, like, ecological science of funguses. And, like, but when you think about it, a fungus is so crazy. What's your first thought, though, when you see a mushroom in your yard?
That it's poisonous and
stomp on it, get rid of it. Yep.
But and a lot of that comes from the fact that those are neither plants nor animals. They exist to break down dead things and recycle them.
Yes.
So in our minds, they're associated with death.
Yes. But they can be just as nutritious and a very important part of the diet, too. They have a lot of interesting vitamins and minerals and, like, medicinal properties. It's so interesting.
But the white fuzz that grows in the refrigerator, that's disgusting. The green stuff is even worse.
Yeah. Anything that grows on rotting meat, yucky.
Yeah.
Especially the orange stuff that makes it smell bad. Ugh. Oh.
But
But yeah,
it's important to the ecosystem to
it
break those
is.
things down and return them to the soil and recycle the whole
But
system.
then that brings up another interesting issue too. The concept of invasive species. And these aliens potentially posing the threat of being an invasive species and consuming something that humans need.
Mm-hmm. It's possible, but with the just the diversity of life on Earth, what's the chance that something that evolved under a completely different sun, in completely different circumstances, would have any interest in us, or even recognize us as life?
Or even recognize that maybe one of their byproducts is toxic to us. We don't know. We don't know if they kill it because it's different attitude.
That's when they'll come through and destroy the Earth to put through their intergalactic superhighway.
And 42 is the answer.
Yep.
To life, the universe, and everything. But yeah, it's definitely, this is almost like a cosmic horror without knowing if it's really horror or not, because, like, my husband likes to say cosmic horror is the type of story that poses the question of what if there is life out there and it doesn't give a shit about you?
Yeah.
And that's literally what cosmic horror is, and that's kind of what this is posing. But there's so many different what-ifs. We don't know enough about these creatures. We just know the prejudices and the reactionary behavior that humans have against them. Despite now the very little we know about what it impressed on the child and showed it through whatever telepathy or whatever. And how do we know that that was even true?
Well, there's another really good book.
Yeah.
That we got to read sometime. I read it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's by a physicist named Robert L. Forward. It's called Dragon's Egg.
Ooh.
It's a whole civilization that evolves on the surface of a star.
Ooh.
And the story concerns the difficulties of those creatures trying to understand the Earth people in a spaceship that is near the star.
Oh, interesting. I love how these are like just all extreme forms of intercultural communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I know part of that is because as humans we can only fathom so many different circumstances that are outside of our own. It's hard to write something that isn't part of a human experience.
Right.
But also, I love that we can play with this question of how would we behave if something like this happened. I'm convinced, especially in this political climate, if an alien landed on this planet right now, we'd be up in arms and trying to kill it.
Probably.
I don't think anybody would give it a second thought. They'd just go for it. They would never try to understand. They'd just be like, kill it because it's different.
Everybody would be afraid of the changes it would bring about in us.
Yeah. And the questions this poses about religion and life outside of our Earth, like, I think we're very, like, egocentric on this planet. We like to think maybe there's other life out there. But I don't think anybody really wants there to be. When you think about it. At least not in mass.
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
You know,
people are afraid of the ambiguous.
It's kind of a natural thing for us. If we don't know anything about it, how can we trust it?
Yeah.
And so we would have to be cautious.
Absolutely. But I think they'd just throw caution on the wind and just shoot it up. If it could be killed. Or capture it and never let it go and never try to understand it. I don't think science would even get a chance to have their hands on any kind of life outside of this planet.
But
unless they were the ones who found it first.
Yeah. Right now, anything capable of crossing the distances between stars would be so far advanced of us that our science would not be able to protect us.
No. Definitely not.
And I think that's the crux of why people are so afraid of the idea, is that they would be so much farther advanced than us that if they wanted to wipe us out, they could, and we could do nothing about it.
Yeah, definitely. But yes, I like stories like this that pose the question of how would we behave if something like this happened. And this is kind of an interesting story too, because it poses the question after a period of time of this already happening. So they already know this happens. They kind of expect it to happen every so often.
And one of the things I thought was brilliant about this story is that when you get to the end, you just feel like crap about what's going on.
I know. You kind of feel like, oh, those poor aliens. This is one of those circumstances where the aliens should have asked for forgiveness and not permission. Just go lay on the... There's so much ocean we haven't discovered. Just go lay on the ocean somewhere. Mm-hmm. You don't need our permission. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Mm-hmm. We'd probably never find you.
Yeah.
And if we did, we'd still be gaslighting each other about whether it was real or not. That's a hoax.
We'd think they're a plastic island.
Yeah. Just, do you ever feel like a plastic bag? Yeah. Maybe that's what this story's about. Maybe it's about littering.
Could be. Burn it.
I don't even want to get into all this crap we've thrown up into space.
The Earth has a ring because of us.
Yeah, seriously. We've got a lot of shrapnel up there that's not even useful anymore. Mm-hmm. Most of it's obsolete space debris.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody going up to clean up that. We could probably make a lot of money, though, off the junk in space. If we bring it back for scrapyards.
If you could bring it back safely.
Yeah.
We currently don't have anything like a space shuttle that we could put it in and get it
just
to the ground.
Well, here comes WALL-E. Have you seen that movie? Mm-hmm. WALL-E, the Disney movie? That's your homework this week. Watch the movie WALL-E. You would actually really enjoy it.
Oh, wait a minute. Wall-E.
Yes,
I do know. I have seen that. That is a good movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah. All the space shrapnel you see as you're zooming in on the Earth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about this story, though.
Me too. Good story. Go read it.
Yep.
Another
enjoy it.
Excellent. I mean, have we had any clunkers from Philip K. Dick? I
mean, we had some that were a little lackluster, but like they weren't unenjoyable. They were still good. Yeah. They were still good. They just weren't like inspiring.
Yeah, but I'm still
less than a handful.
I'm still thinking we got to come across at least one that we go, this story stank.
This was crap. You can't have it all. How dare you, Philip K. Dick? Anyway, yeah. Like, subscribe, talk to us. Let us know what you think. Give us your perspective on this particular story. There's a lot of different ways I think this could be interpreted. Mm-hmm. A lot of different ways to take it. So let us know what you think.
We've got a long way to go. Come back for more.
Yes, we've got more Philip K. Dick on the way and more than just that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break from Dick and do some other things like Harrow the Ninth that we've been reading for forever.
We're going to take some time away from the Dick and go to the space lesbians.
Yeah.
Woo!
Okay.
To make this really smutty. Anyway, thanks guys, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.